Welcome to the Crawlcast. I'm your host, George Krozek, and today we are looking at which starting NFL quarterback has the most touchdowns per game. And the reason I have it per game is just make it a little bit fair because I'm trying to objectively see who is the best quarterback in the NFL. And I'll have a video out shortly comparing all these stats and seeing who is the best quarterback. And if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button like it owes you money. Now let's get started. So first, a little admin I just need to cover where so this includes all 29 starting quarterbacks. It does not include the Vikings quarterback JJ McCarthy because he's never played. It doesn't include the Saints quarterback just because we have no idea who it's going to be. And then it doesn't include the Browns quarterback because we also don't know who that's going to be. And I just want to let you know right now it's being recorded on June 3rd, so we don't necessarily know if Aaron Rodgers is going to sign with the Steelers, but I think it's a very high likelihood to the point where I think it'd be more shocking if he doesn't sign with the Steelers. So I've included Aaron Rodgers, and if Aaron Rodgers ends up retiring and doesn't sign with the Steelers, then this will just be like a fun little extra quarterback to add. So now let's get started. At number 29 is Will Levis, who has 22 touchdowns in 21 games, which is a 1.04 touchdowns per game, and he is the Tennessee Titans quarterback. At number 28 is Panthers quarterback Bryce Young, who has 32 touchdowns in 28 games, which is 1.14 touchdowns per game. At number 27 is Bears quarterback Caleb Williams, who has 20 touchdowns in 17 games, which is 1.14 touchdowns per game. At number 26 is Michael Penix Jr., who has 4 touchdowns in 3 games, which is 1.33 touchdowns per game. At number 25 is Trevor Lawrence, who has 83 touchdowns in 60 games, which is 1.38 touchdowns per game, and he's the Jaguars quarterback. At number 24 is Buccaneers quarterback Baker Mayfield, who has 181 touchdowns in 130 games, which is 1.39 touchdowns per game. At number 23 is Anthony Richardson, the Colts quarterback, who has 21 touchdowns in 15 games, which is 1.4 touchdowns per game. At number 22 is Geno Smith, the Raiders quarterback, who has 117 touchdowns in 83 games, which is 1.4096 touchdowns per game. At number 21 is Drake May, who is the Patriots quarterback that has 17 touchdowns in 12 games, which is 1.41 touchdowns per game. At number 20 is the Texans quarterback CJ Stroud, who has 46 touchdowns in 32 games, which is 1.43 touchdowns per game. At number 19 is Justin Fields, who has 64 touchdowns in 44 games, which is 1.45 touchdowns per game. At number 18 is the Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold, who has 112 touchdowns in 73 games, which is 1.53 touchdowns per game. At number 17 is Tua, who has 106 touchdowns in 62 games, which is 1.7 touchdowns per game, and he's the Dolphins quarterback. At number 16 is Lions quarterback Jared Goff, who has 234 touchdowns in 134 games, which is 1.74 touchdowns per game. At number 15 is Matthew Stafford, who has 392, is Rams quarterback, who has 392 touchdowns in 222 games, which is 1.76 touchdowns per game. At number 14 is Kyler Murray, who has 146 touchdowns in 82 games, which is 1.78 touchdowns per game, and he's also the Cardinals quarterback. At number 13 is Jaden Daniels, who has 31 touchdowns in 17 games, which is 1.82 touchdowns per game, and he is the Commanders quarterback. At number 12 is Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert, who has 150 touchdowns in 79 games, which is 1.89 touchdowns per game, and he's the Chargers quarterback. At number 11 is Giants quarterback Russell Wilson, who has 381 touchdowns in 199 games, which is a 1.91 touchdowns per game. At number 10 is Broncos quarterback Bo Nix, who has 33 touchdowns in 17 games, which is 1.94 touchdowns per game. At number 9 is Jordan Love, who has 65 touchdowns in 33 games, which is 1.96 touchdowns per game, and he's the Packers quarterback. And number 8 is Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott, who has 242 touchdowns in 122 games, which is a 1.98 touchdowns per game. At number 7 is Brock Purdy, who has 72 touchdowns in 36 games, which is 2 touchdowns per game. And he's the 49ers quarterback. And number 6 is Lamar Jackson, who has 199 touchdowns in 94 games, which averages on out to 2.11 touchdowns per game, and he's the Ravens quarterback. And number 5 is Jalen Hurts, who has 140 touchdowns in 66 games, which is 2.12 touchdowns per game, and he's also the Eagles quarterback. And number 4 is Joe Burrow, who has 152 touchdowns in 69 games, which is 2.20 touchdowns per game, and he's the Bengals quarterback. And number 3 is presumably Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who has 538 touchdowns in 241 games, which is 2.23 touchdowns per game. And number 2 is Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who has 259 touchdowns in 112 games, which is 2.23 touchdowns per game. And at number 1 is Bills quarterback Josh Allen, who has 260 touchdowns in 110 games, which is 2.36 touchdowns per game. So that is the rankings of who has had the most touchdowns per game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Which one shocked you? Which one you liked? Which one you didn't think? Which one you didn't like? Or which one didn't shock you? And like I said before, if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button like it owes you money. And I'll see you on the next one.